set Chattanooga freight. Couple of kids in a Chevrolet. Catch a little air when we cross the tracks. Sipping on something from a paper stack.
Just talk a little bit about the records that you've set and which ones mean the most to you.
So there's been numerous records we've kind of set. This season, I was able to get up to, I believe it was 5th on the school record board for all-time 5K this year with a 15:15. Just seeing the guys that I'm around up there on that list is really impressive to me. It's really cool to me because those are guys when I was younger, back in 7th and 8th grade, joining the team, I was kind of looking up to, and seeing that I'm around those guys is really cool to me. You know, back in track season last year, we had a few records, more relay related. We had the 4x mile and the DMR and those kinds of records. We actually ran the all-time DMR for Alabama outdoor. Then we had the 3,200 at the Holiday Invitational, and that was a really cool one for me. You know, my coach kind of sat me down and he talked through the race, and he was like, "This record is super attainable for you. Like, I can totally see you breaking this record, and you know that's something that you shouldn't fear." So I kind of went into that race with the mindset, you know, this is definitely attainable and it's not a reach. And I kind of just turned my brain off and ran what I thought was capable. And once we got to like 3 or 4 laps to go, I was like, wow, this is really in reach. And then it was just kind of flip the switch and go from there, and wasn't too bad from there.
So what about your current and former teammates? What do they do that motivates you to reach the next level?
Yeah, so we've always had lots of amazing runners that Coach Borden has coached and kind of set the standard for, and they always know exactly what to do, and they've led the way for us. Gabe, around my 8th grade year, Gabe was kind of doing his thing, and it was always something like I was looking up to him a lot and kind of thinking, wow, that is like the perfect mix between a distance runner and sprinter. You know, he performs well in the 800 all the way up to the 3,200. And then we had athletes like Jackson Harris. Grayson Hall was a great leader for me, and all those guys, Will Pinson up there kind of leading the way for us and showing the standard. And my current teammate, Eric Moore, was always training with them. And so he was kind of someone I was looking up to, even though he's the same grade level as me, someone I looked up to and someone I always wanted to train with. And that was kind of the motto, do everything Eric does. My teammates give me a hard time about that because I say that all the time. And it sounds kind of, you know, it sounds weirder coming from someone that's your same age, but someone I kind of look up to, you know. I've got teammates, great leader Luke Chapurin that kind of leads the way. And Coach Borden came up with the motto of rebrand the Huntsville, and that's kind of something we lived by.
It's such a good standard over there, and you said 3 of you told her going to UNA. I'm sure that excites you too, because UNA does a great job at recruiting locally and then some international, some out of state. So talk about your own recruitment process, your decision-making process, and kind of how that works with your teammates and everything.
UNA actually came into the picture a little bit later than you would expect your final decision to go into. But once I had some conversations with Callahan, he kind of talked to me about what he had planned for UNA's future and what he had already started. And it seemed perfectly aligned with what I wanted in a future in a college. So he immediately struck me as a guy that means business, is honest, and wants to create a great program. So, you know, UNA's recently, in the last decade or so, been D1. So they haven't only been D1. They're kind of making a name for themselves. And that's kind of something we did with Huntsville, was make a name for ourselves. So that kind of aligned perfectly with UNA and those guys. And I know a few guys we have there. We've had 2 teammates go to UNA, and Grayson Hall being one of them that was there. I went down on a visit with my buddy Owen Otto, who also committed to UNA, and that also helped with the choice, was considering being teammates with him in the future and kind of rooming with him as a guy that I could definitely see expanding the future of a program with.
So how is like really just the whole body of coaching over there at Huntsville helped you get to the next level?
Yeah, and something a little different with Huntsville, Coach Borden knows his stuff. He can coach you in pretty much about everything. He's probably the most knowledgeable guy I know when it comes to running. You know, he does his research. He reads the books on the pros. He knows about everything about running you could possibly know. And so we put all our trust in him as a distance crew. And I think that's something that shows our culture. That's something we've talked about recently with some of our guys, is the culture that Coach Borden has created with the distance guys. He's kind of been there for me since I was in 7th grade, a middle schooler. That's something special about our program, is that we kind of accept everyone there. Coach Borden involves everyone in the team, make sure everyone gets involved. Towards the summer, he was very involved, but he had a baby towards the end of the year, so he had to be a little less involved than normal. But because of that culture he's kind of created with some of these guys that I've been training with for the past 5-6 years, we were able to hold each other accountable without even having a coach there for weeks at a time, sometimes just having to get all of our training from online, all of us holding each other accountable because Coach Borden has created that culture. We have assistant coach Keaton Watts, who helps a lot. He actually used to be on the team. He ran at UAH. He's been helping us a lot too, and he's kind of a good role model for all of us because he's a very positive guy. He's always great to have around.
From your point of view, how has the program been able to maintain such a high level of success for so many years under Coach Borden?
the leaders beforehand, and they kind of talk to us and they'll tell us exactly what is expected, and that's only greatness in winning. We don't go into any meets without expecting to win. Obviously, we have stair-step goals to get an attainable goal. The past 4 years, my freshman year, we were on the state team and we were able to win state I was the 10th guy that year. And then the past 2 years has been a really difficult runner-up position there. And then this year, finally getting it back was a great accomplishment. But the success is definitely attributed to Coach Borden. We have a lot of conversations. We had a big one this year where literally we just sat down with like our top 5 guys and we were like, what are we doing wrong? So we're very coachable, very able to listen, very able to trust, and whatever Coach Borden tells us to do, kind of usually ends up being the right thing. So
I'm sure it's a weight off your shoulders that you know where you're going now, so you can go out there and just, compete really. And so what are you looking forward to this semester, and what are you looking forward to, moving forward in college at UNA? I'm sure that there's plenty.
So this cross-country season, it was definitely a bit of weight on my shoulders, not knowing exactly where I was going to go, if I was meeting the standards of where I wanted to go. And committing to UNA's took all that weight off my shoulders, so I've been able to race very openly and very free and kind of enjoy and live in the moment a lot more than I have in the last semester or so. So this semester leading into UNA, I'm very excited. I think the college kind of life is definitely something that I'll benefit from as a runner, kind of having a lot more freedom and availability for recovery and a lot more access to recovery from trainers and such like that. But I'm looking forward to just watching UNA grow over this summer and over the next semester and couple of years, kind of helping the program, being that guy that can hopefully help lead the program to something it's never done before.
What are your thoughts on the impact and legacy that you've left as a leader in this program and just kind of its future runners?
I can definitely be a little more hard on the younger guys than some of the other guys are. And it honestly comes from a place of love, for our younger guys. I just had some of those guys break some of my old records from middle school records. And that is the coolest thing to me, is watching those guys that, they might be walking down the halls of a middle school and everyone laughs at the distance kids because they don't do a real sport or something like that. And watching them break those records and being able to flex those records and everything is so cool to me. And watching them come to the high school, I only wish the best for those guys. We still have some of those guys that were involved in the team come back and watch us perform at some meets like state and stuff like that. And that's something I definitely want to do for those guys, is kind of show them that we still care.
Just talk about the cross training, your training regimen, and just how hard you have worked to get to UNA.
Yes, sir. So there's definitely a lot of work behind the scenes a lot of people don't see, and there's something kind of changed this year going into my senior year. I didn't really used to pick up weights at all or cross train at all. If I did, it was just every so often on like a Sunday to replace another run. This year, going into the summer specifically, everything kind of flipped in my brain. I was like, what is everyone not doing right now that I can do? So I picked up weights 3 or 4 times a week, just kind of light training in the summer, and then when it got to the school year, doing about 3 times a week, and then I picked up cross training any day I could. Really, in the summer, I was doing it sometimes 4 times a week after doubling twice a week. So the summer was definitely some intense training on my body, but the recovery time I get in the summer helps compensate for that. And then once we got to the school year, it was able to kind of die down a little bit and even out everything so that the fitness is already there and we just got to hold it and maintain it. One of my favorite workouts we went out to the track and we did a 30-minute tempo at 5:20. So that was probably my favorite workout I hit this summer. It was kind of a monumental moment that I've talked about on a few different things, was kind of just the confidence that specific workout provided with me. And a moment that's kind of stuck with me is like my teammate after, he's like, that was genuinely like, I'm proud of you. That was a good run. That sense of accomplishment that comes from running is something that I don't think a lot of other sports can provide. The fact that you're having to absolutely drill your body and train your body and mindset nonstop, and then finally like accomplishing your goal after a big race or after a big meet and getting to celebrate that with teammates is just an amazing feeling.
Jack, I appreciate it again, man. It's been great talking to you.